All right, what's up, guys? Happy middle of the week to you. We're almost to the weekend. Today, I'm going to be showing you a few things on the Nansen Research Agent. I'm going to zoom into it here for you. I'll make sure to zoom in during the video as well so you can see it more clearly. There's some very actionable content here. Some of it I posted on my Twitter. Some of it I didn't because I wanted to save it for the video today. So we'll look at that. I'm going to show you a few other things here before we get started. For those of you that are new to the channel and it's your first time watching it, what I do here is I look over smart money and like whale activity using Nansen, Moni, engineering robo, different tools that I use every single day so you can learn to use them as well. I will timestamp everything in the video, so if you want to jump forward and look for certain things, just that you're just looking for, then you can see it down below here in the video in the timestamp section. Okay, so let's just jump into it. I wanted to talk about first a few of the things that I've mentioned on Twitter recently. Here's Swissblock talking about Bitcoin dominance continuing to fall, and the direction is definitely down on this, which is good for alts. This is the Nansen Research Agent output that I just mentioned. This one I've already posted, so I'm really not going to go over it, but it was an ETH chain thing that I put in there. I was asking it a question and the agent sent this back to me. This is through Nansen. And so it was just telling me that the top 3 tokens currently that are the best setups on the ETH chain over the last 7 days is Block, Beam, and Toke. So you can read through that if you want. My Twitter is at Bike for Sale, just as you see up here. And there's some other things here. I posted some Moni information, which Moni, that's like Alpha Hunters and the social side of things. And then we've got an others 3-day AI buy signal through Engineering Robo, which is great. I mean, we haven't seen one of these in a while. It's been over a year. So hopefully this thing continues up from here. And, this is just the bottom of the alt market, right? So we're going to look into that. I think, Bitcoin was showing a little bit of weakness here, but I'm going to look at the chart. I like to go over the market first, just to kind of give you an idea which way it's heading short term. Long term, I can tell you that things are going up. Q4 is going to be great for our alts. Of course, none of this is financial advice, but that's the way I see it playing out. So here's one of the Nansen, on-chain data points that you don't see much of. This is called a breadth indicator, OOS, and it's measuring how many tokens, and it's all the tokens on CoinGecko that this thing is tracking. So it's measuring to see how many tokens are short-term bullish and how many are long-term bullish. And currently, right now, we've got 21% of all tokens on CoinGecko are bullish. And for the very long term, there's only 10% of them that are bullish. So all of these kind of bounced off of this light blue line down here that's called the entry threshold. So you can see the exit threshold's way up here. That's what happens in 2021. So we're hoping that this thing can get all the way back up here. At the very least, we're hoping for a move back up here to where it was, in like May 2024, which actually in March is where I found that top that was coming in back then and posted it on X. So this thing is trending up. That's what we want to see. The long term is curling up. That's the gold line. So things are looking good there. And then if we look at the 30 different bull market peak indicators to indicate selling at the top, currently everything is saying to continue to hold. Nothing is showing a sell signal. So we're still looking good there as well. Bitcoin futures is starting to get back up in here into a level where there's some resistance coming back up. So if we can get a clearer push back above this, 117K area, we'll be good to go again. But it's okay to see Bitcoin be weak here, just go sideways, because that actually helps the alts. And here's that others 3-day view, which it's still down into the red cloud, but it's breaking back into that cloud, which is what we want to see. As we come back up, 9.6%-ish will be some resistance. But, if we can see this thing continue to climb here, we're going to see a lot of moves by the alts right now. And we're into the greed area here on the fear and greed index. So that's exactly what we want to see there as well. I had made a post previously that if we could break the fear greed, if we could break out of this long downtrend, which I had indicated it on Twitter, I said if this thing rolls over and then it finds some support, then it's going to push up into that greed, and that's good for us. And so far, that's what's happening. That's why I had this green arrow pointing up out here in the future. because I wasn't sure if it was going to happen in October, which this is showing October 1st, or if it was going to happen back here. But it looks like it's, happening soon now. And when I say soon, I mean within the next month or so. So, all of our patience is going to pay off because Bitcoin dominance is falling. And what you're seeing currently out of these alts is, I'm just going to give an example of something that pumped today. Bake made a really big move. Let's just see what it did. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge move. That's a 5x in one day, 6x in one day. But of course, you would have had to suffer through all this downtrend just to get this little thing. But the point I want to make is, this is probably the bottom for Bake. All of these tokens are playing catch up. First you get, gold makes its move. We'll make that gold. And then Bitcoin makes its move to chase gold, basically, which I feel like has already happened. That's Bitcoin. And then you get like ETH and all the other alts to catch up with these two. And that's the phase that we're in currently. So we'll make that one blue. So, we're just playing catch up with gold, basically. So when gold finds its next local top, Bitcoin's probably going to start moving again, and the alts are going to start moving because Bitcoin dominance is coming down. So even though Bitcoin goes up, alts can still go up this time because Bitcoin dominance is falling. So that's the idea. Some tokens, just to give you an idea, some tokens that I like currently that haven't really made much of a move yet. Well on base is a good one. I also like Opal. It's done actually this is the measured move I had set for the next move for this one up to 11 cents, but inverted head and shoulders. It's coming back to retest some of this, almost like a cup and handle look, or more like a Adam and Eve pattern. So hopefully this thing holds support here pretty soon and can start moving back up and get back above the bullish line. But I believe that this is a good value at this level for Opal. All right, so let's jump into, let me see if I have it on my other screen here. And then I'll also go ahead and pull up the Telegram Nansen bot. Oh, by the way, Nansen did let me know that I can release this information, that the mobile app is coming up pretty soon. I think it could be by the end of this month, but we'll see. And this agent here is going to be on that app. So you don't have to just use Telegram for this. You can also use your app in the future. And you can use your voice commands, to ask it things just like just like Siri or whatever. But just understand that currently this experimental Nansen research agent bot is only available to professional users. It is coming to Pioneer users, but they're just, they're testing it some more. And then once they get everything tested, they'll release it to the, to the lower tier payment on Nansen, which is really not that money for what you get for Nansen. And if you want any discounts for the things that I talk about, like Nansen or whatever, it's down there in the description below. There's also a 7-day free trial for Engineering Robo, which is the, it's the buy signal thing that you see here on TradingView. All right, so let's do this. We're going to look at some tokens here on Nansen here in just a second, like we normally do. But I want to show you just how powerful this agent is first. So the thing I talked about before where it kind of showed me the top 3 picks, and I'm going to zoom in here. Hang on one second. I want to make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. Okay, so we're zooming in. The first thing that I asked it is to check all ETH chain accumulation over the last 7 days. Do any tokens stand out with impressive, what is it? Oh yeah, top 100 wallet, smart money, whale, or public figure, true accumulation. I want to make sure the accumulation is real. And I want to find plays that haven't moved much yet and are showing signs of accumulation. So it went through all this. It took it maybe 1 or 2 minutes, and it came up with these suggestions. And you can see it on my X, but I'm going to show you what it came up with on base here with the same question. So I told it right here, do the same for base chain. And it said that it would analyze base. So here's what we have currently, and we'll look at some of these on Nansen as well. So AVNT I have seen showing up in Nansen Mindshare. I'll show you that here in a second so that you're aware where the Mindshare button is on Nansen, which is also powered by Money, by the way. So you're kind of getting smart money plus Alpha Hunter socials all together in Nansen Mindshare now. So it's very powerful, but I'll show you that here in just a second. So AVNT, you got people like OX Wives is buying it, a public figure. It's saying, why is it perfect? It's multi-sector exposure. It's a fresh launch, but down 20%, perfect entry, it's saying. And some smart money flow here while price is declining. So that's sophisticated accumulation. Runner-up is Mirror. That one's been showing up lately too. And then a value play is REI. It's also given a new launch, Golden, which I haven't looked at yet. It's a RWA play. This one's already moving, Zen. And then, yeah, here's where it's talking about AVNT again. So it gives you the full breakdown of what it's looking at and why it's choosing these. Let's look at it ourselves. Let me take my zoom off here, okay? So let's look at AVNT. Actually, let's look at Mindshare first, and then we'll go into AVNT. So what you do is you click on tokens here. You click on trending on Nansen. And I don't really worry about this chart up here because it's more like artwork than it is, you know, being able to tell anything. Really what this does is it's taking the token popularity by week, and it's looking at, you know, what are the top 20 most researched tokens so that, you know, people are interested in looking them up and possibly buying them. Of course, that's for the weekly. If you want to look for the daily, you know, for the 24-hour, there you go. And AVNT for Pioneer users is #1. It's got the highest score. So it's being searched the most. And I mean, typically when you see searches, when you see people following X accounts, you know, if you see people looking it up on Nansen, that means people are interested in buying it, right? So here's AVNT for Pioneer users. It's #2 here for professional. So, you know, really impressive that it's on 2 of these lists right here. There are free, I would definitely recommend at least going down in the description and clicking on that link for 10% off Nansen. Even if you don't buy it, just look around and see, you know, look at the free things that you can do on Nansen, because there are some free things, and just see if it's something that you would be interested in. This may even show for free users, I'm not sure. So you may want to just check. But you got things like cards. MYX had a huge move recently. Flock is going to make another move in the future. There's Mirror right there. Let's just pull up a couple of these that were on that research bot that I read about. I know AVNT, Mirror. What was the other one we saw? REI. Is that one even showing up here yet? Not just yet. Well, before I get into that, let me just show you a couple other things you can do here. You can search by rank change here. You know, so either search by score or rank change. Sometimes if you search by score, that means the token's already made the move, which, you know, 43% over the last 24 hours, not much. I need to look at the chart though, see how much it's actually made. But you can change by rank. You can look at last 30 days, you know, which bio, we found that one very early. WLFI, Block, Pingu, we've been talking about. I mean, this is why you're seeing the same tokens I've been talking about. KTA, we did a 10X on, or, you know, we talked about that one before it even made the move. ARKM recently, I've talked about that one as one that could make a nice move. Ondo has had some nice press lately, I think with a partnership or something. Yeah, okay, so let's see. There's your 7-day look. Buy rank change. GRIFFAIN starting to make some noise. Trying to see what else is here that we might want to pull up. Yeah, I think GRIFFAIN would be an interesting one to pull up, actually. We'll take a look at that one. And ARKM, WLFI would be interesting. Ondo. Wild has made a pretty good move lately. I don't know that. Well, yeah, we'll go ahead and look at it maybe. Oh, Cake is the one that just made that move. So we can kind of see why, or what it looked like before it made that move, right? That would be interesting to see what it looks like before a token's ready. Because it's hard to catch those pumps like that just out of nowhere. Okay, let me look up that other one. What was it again? REI. So let's just do search, type in REI. Yeah, there it is right there. REI on base. That's what I want. I mean, Nansen has all these chains now on their platform, so you're able to look at a lot of tokens now. Whereas, you know, 6 months ago, you wouldn't have been able to look at this many. You know, they have to add these chains before you can see them, see the on-chain data. Yeah, so REI is trying to make a move here if it's going to start breaking out of these lower highs that it's been putting in. And I'll kind of go backwards here with the last one that it mentioned on the Nansen Research Agent. But last 7 days, let's just see what was happening as this price came down here. Yeah, we got on 7 days. So fresh wallets were buying. I mean, it's not a huge clip. It's like 40% more volume for fresh wallets. But the top P&L traders, they've been the ones that have been carrying the price. So they've been purchasing 138% more, in volume over the last 7 days. And you can see some of these down here, the high balance wallets, they've been purchasing large amounts, like 100K a clip per time. So let's just click on the top P&L traders and see. You can see who's been buying here and who's been making the P&L. I don't usually show this view, but you can see here, the bottom 50 traders have 8.8 million net inflow. That means they're buying. But the top 50, top 100, there's a lot of net outflow going. But things are starting to shift now. We just saw on the chart. If we go back to the chart, it seems like there could be a situation where people are starting to buy again. And that's right there. You can pull the RSI up here and just see if there's a bullish divergence there. Yeah, see that right there? See how you had a higher low on the RSI while price was coming down? So this could be a true start of a move back up for RAI here. And you can take the candle inspector, click this one right there, and see here at the bottom who was buying. So when I click that, now it's going to populate some wallets down here. We're just going to see who was buying at that moment. Smiley Capital, that is a person on Twitter, bought 74K worth. You got a bunch of high balance wallets that bought, 20K, 40K. So a lot of conviction coming in here, and that's what you want to see. So now that you know that there's some high conviction wallets and they're still holding all their tokens, there's 100% remaining, they haven't sold any, then you can have more confidence that this could be a true breakout here. We're ready to move back up. And this is REI on base. All right, Avantis, that's the first one that we looked at. This is a brand new launch. And again, this is one AVNT. It's a brand new token. I found it by using this Nansen research agent on Telegram. And looks like, this was a engulfing candle down here. So this was kind of your signal to go long on it. Or this one right here would have been your signal. So this one could have some more, move to the upside here. We'll just look over here and see who's buying. So we can see public figures are buying here. And I'll take a closer look at it using the holder. So again, this is Avantis on base AVNT. Your top 100 addresses are kind of flat, not a whole lot of accumulation. But I think it's your smart money that's buying the most. And there you go. So it's clear that smart money is driving price because you have let me go down here to the 24-hour. So you have this gray line, that's the price. If you kind of move along here, you'll see price going up. And then the gold yellow line here is the token balance. So if this is going up, that means balance is coming off of the exchange onto people's wallets. Now, the only exception would be if you're clicking over here on exchange. If you see this going up, then in that case, that would mean that tokens are entering the exchange, which wouldn't be good. So if you ever see this number in a negative, that means people are selling. They're sending their tokens to the exchange to sell them. But if you on these other ones, if you see the gold line going up, that means there's accumulation. That's what you want to see. So there's nothing but buys here right now on this one. You can see they received all these tokens over here. They haven't sold any. Sent would be sold. Of course, down here at the very bottom, there are some that have already completely sold out. But you got these other wallets that are holding. And if you see, 1, 2, 3, even more wallets, that's a lot of conviction for you there that people are holding for higher prices. Let me see what the public figure looks like. Yeah, I mean, you had some accumulation down here. We can go to 7-day to get a better look. Of course, this is a brand new token. So they were accumulating at the very beginning here. Price came down. They didn't sell. They kept holding. And here's who is holding. It's OXWise, which is a very good trader on Twitter. Dens, OX Sleeper, and OX Sensei. So I think they still, no, these two don't really have much left. It's just these two. So you can actually look them up on Twitter, but this is another level to things where if you're using Nansen, if you're using Money together, then now you're seeing smart money. You can see what their wallets are doing, but you can also see what they're doing on socials, what projects they're following. You can get in early on these projects before they pump. And I'll get more into Money in a future video. I've done it before. You can search my channels, but today we're just going over Nansen and smart money and public figures and whales. We can even look at the whale activity on this one. Yeah, so they were all accumulating at the same time, and most of them are still holding, so that's a good sign for this one. And again, these are base plays specifically. Here is Mirror token. I've actually got one wallet here that I track, which you can see with the green tag there, and they're still holding 32% of what they initially bought. This is a fairly new token as well. Volumes, mostly descending. Price is kind of starting to descend here, but it could find some support soon. It's been on a lot of Mindshare lists. Let's see, 24 hours. A lot of fresh wallets are buying right now, but it's not a huge increase in volume. I'm just curious what's been happening over the last 7 days. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, the volume's not really there just yet. The holders have increased dramatically, like 800 or 8,000 times more holders than normal over the last 7 days. But I think that's just because it's a new token, so it's really counting all the way back to here. So my expectation, just based on this pattern, is you could come down to here and then maybe it's ready to move. But you really need, to feel confident about jumping into a token like this, even though it's on Mindshare and it seems like a lot of people are looking at it. Right here is what you would have been looking for, right? Where there's a huge move up. Let me see what the 7-day looks like on this. So we're looking at smart money tab here. And yeah, here you got, just really steady accumulation. This is a great sign, actually. If you wanted to start nibbling at this token and, taking a little position and then, maybe look again in a couple of days and see how it's doing. Nansen's the best way to really look at this because you want to see continued accumulation. You don't want to see this start to dip down on the yellow line here. But all these smart money holders, you got multiple smart money holders that are continuing to hold, they're continuing to buy. This is holding steady even while price is coming down. That's a good sign. Let's see what the public figures are doing. Yeah, steady. And whales. You're kind of trying to find out who's selling here, right? Whales actually started accumulating on September 9th. That was yesterday. So I suspect that, this thing's going to start seeing a supply shock where all of these bigger, high conviction wallets have bought already and they're just waiting on price to go up. So they're holding on to that supply. And now you just need some fresh wallets or some other smart money to come in and push it up. It's going to find some support, I suspect, over the next couple of days or weeks. And then by October, it'll probably pump with everything else. Okay, so that kind of goes through. I just wanted to show you my thought process and, talking about these tokens that the research agent helped me find. This is one way that, I'm much more quickly doing research right now. So, maybe check that out if you want to start getting used to Nansen, and you'll be ready to use that research agent when it's released to the Pioneer users. Of course, for professional users, it's available right now. And, you just have to pay a little bit more if you're going to get access to it right away. But you don't absolutely have to have it. You can easily go through here and get plenty of info on the tokens that you're currently looking at, or maybe the tokens you're looking at on Mindshare, and get all the information you need. It's just the research agent makes it easier to find things. It's going to find things that you may not know about. So in that way, it's kind of like a volume screener for finding tokens that are ready to move. So if we go over here to GRIFFAIN, this was a huge token back in, late 2024 maybe? That's when we had our big move. Like if we look back, 180 days? Well, we just look at the full time span on this one and see when it first pumped. So before price even moved, here we are, top 100 addresses. There started to be some accumulation. Let's actually look at smart money because they tend to be early. Yeah, there you go right there. So price, this was back in November when we had our first seasonality pump into December. Actually, this one extended all the way into January of the next year, but you saw huge accumulation here. I mean, like, this is what you want to see. Supply owned went from like 1% all the way up to like 5% for smart money before the price started going up. So here's the gray line, price is going up, up, up. Had you bought when smart money was peaking here at the amount of supply that they owned, you would have got a token price of 0.008. Price ended up at 0.04. What is that? 0.08, 0.04. I don't know. It's like a 6 to 7x, something like that. It may be even more. I may be miscalculating. But anyway, you get the idea. When you see supply starting to shift and go back down and cross, you know, like there's a divergence here where the smart money is selling off, you know, they're sending tokens back to the exchange. This is your first signal to start taking profits. You don't have to take it all, but this ends up being a very good signal because smart money is usually early to buy and early to sell. Now you can see, I mean, that they don't sell everything right away. See how it slowly dwindles down here to nothing? You know, they're taking profits as price goes up. Some of them took profits too early right here, right? I mean, it went down a little bit there. So you're going to have some smart money wallets that just sell too early. They're just looking for a small profit. But if you're patient and you look at this first signal here, you could have taken some profits there near the first peak and then just, you know, maybe held on to the rest to see if it could go higher. But hopefully, you know, that makes sense to you. Smart money, public figures, you know, they tend to be early. Here's another instance where public figure, the supply owned went from like 0 to 2%. That's a huge signal. Even 0 to 1% of supply owned is huge. If you ever see something like that and the price hasn't gone up, then, you know, you're pretty safe, even though it's not financial advice. You're pretty safe to say, as long as they're not selling, it's probably a you know, a good investment short-term minimum. But as price went up, they were selling off, same thing. They actually started accumulating again, hoping this was a bottom. And it did tend to be, you know, it went up again after that. I'm just showing you how to use these charts so that it's obvious for you. And then whales, you know, same thing. They went from none, you know, no supply owned to 13%. Actually, it went all the way up to 15%. And whales did a much better job at selling the very top. You know, instead of taking a lot of profit here on the first peak, here was your first divergence where, you know, tokens were coming off of the exchange. Tokens were going onto the exchange. They were selling them as price peaked above that line. So the yellow and the gray line, the total balance diverged or converged with the price action. And that was your signal, if you're watching whales, to take profits. And that was a perfect sell signal. I need to look at this more in the future, but, you know, what if whales are a good indication of where to sell? You know, they've got a lot of supply. So wouldn't that make sense that if whales start to sell, then there's going to be a lot of sell pressure, you know, because they're the ones that hold most of the supply anyway. We saw with smart money, you know, they hold whatever it was, 5% supply at the top. Public figures had a, you know, a smaller amount, 2% or whatever. But now when we looked over here at whales, they made it all the way up to like 15% supply owned. So think about this in the future. This is one way that you can use Nansen to find the very top of this cycle. You know, when the alts make their big move, I think this could be very useful to you because a lot of people don't know when to sell. You know, they're worried about when to sell and they just hold too long and they end up round tripping. So we're going to look at this going forward, the rest of these on the video. Here's ARKM. We talked about this one even before the pump happened. If we go back, here's a trick on using X. If you want to search for something, you type from : and like if you were using me, you type in byte for sale, my username, and then ARKM would be ARKM. And now you can look and see all the times that I mentioned ARKM. And this would have been back on August 20, what was it? August 28th, I think. So here we are sitting near, oh, sorry, that's near. I was just comparing it to near. Where did I mention it first? August 27th. Here was one of our videos that we did, and we talked about ARKM being one of the ones that we covered. 14th, I was talking about ARKM appears to be finalizing consolidation, pushing towards a breakout. So let's see, 0.564. Let me find it here again. Yeah, that was right before the pump. So I was talking about it right here. It did. I mean, it's not a huge pump, but it looks like it's starting to make its move where it's creating higher highs again. You know, if you imagine that, actually it's sitting right on the new support right now. But if you imagine this is your resistance, which it pretty much is, you're getting some big volume spikes here. And I think this thing's, maybe it doesn't happen right away, but this long consolidation is going to end up in a breakout, you know, once the market starts moving up much harder. So this is still a good one to look at, I believe. And we can look back and let's just look over the last 7 days and see what was happening that caused this price action. Because this is going to help you go on to Nansen and use it to find tokens that are ready to move like this that you've already been looking at. So let's see, last 7 days, these are the top 100 addresses. They started accumulating on September 3rd. At the time, they owned 83%. Now it's up to 89%. It's a net increase of whatever, 6%. So they're holding and are actually accumulating more. Let's see what Smart Money was doing at the same time. Smart Money pretty flat. You've got one holder that's just kind of hanging on to what they initially accumulated. Same for Public Figures and Whales. So could you have gone back further, like 30 days ago? We're seeing a positive number for Smart Money here. Yeah, there was some accumulation right there on August 11th where they accumulated. It's down in the smaller percentages, but it was clear that as this price came down, they were accumulating. And that was that GSR wallet here, which they have a $6 million net worth. And let's just see what their P&L is over the last 9 days, 544,000. So that's really good. They don't trade much. They've only had 2 trades over that time period, but they're very profitable in those trades. And that's only realized trades. That they may have unrealized trades that they have open that have unrealized gains right now. So yeah, there's over the last 7 days, you didn't really get much of a signal using Smart Money or anything, but the top 100 addresses definitely told you, like, here's a divergence or a convergence we were talking about that you could have used to sell, but that would have been a short-term sell signal because I'm just looking at a daily, but they are continuing to accumulate even through this dip. And actually, now that I tell you that, I'm trying to think. No, I take that back, actually. In this case, this would be more like a buy signal because the yellow price is crossing above a dipping price, in the token. So while price is coming down, they're actually buying more. So that's actually a bullish divergence. So this does include some exchange activity. So what you want to see out of exchanges here, like Bithumb, BTC Turk, I don't know what that is. What else? Binance, Coinbase. You want to see tokens coming off of the exchange like this. You don't want to see them going on to the exchange because that means people are selling. So, there are instances where the exchange will accumulate tokens to, they'll actually buy tokens themselves. I don't know if they buy them on the OTC market or what, but they do get a better price. So they're just providing liquidity, for the centralized exchange market. And so they do need to replenish their stock sometimes through their market makers. Okay, so, ARKM, I was really the signal on that one. There wasn't necessarily so much Smart Money signals on that, but I think there is clear accumulation here from the top 100 wallets, and it will start to make a move. You're going to see Smart Money accumulate it. That would be the thing to watch in the future is if you see these numbers start to turn positive again on any 3 of these over the next 7 days or something, if you're watching Nansen, then that would be your signal that they're starting to accumulate again, and a good time for you to accumulate if you want it. World Liberty Financial, I know a lot of people are interested in this one. Here's a top 100 Pendle wallet that has purchased some actually in the last 24 hours. Let's just see what's been going on over the last 7 days. Here's your quick look at everything over here. You can switch to 7 days, 30 days, whatever, last 24 hours, and just quickly see how much volume increase there is and everything. Or you can go over to the holders tab. And here you're going to see, what we've been looking at on everything else. And a lot of this is just to teach you, how I go about this process. Hopefully you're gaining value from this. Hopefully we found some tokens that haven't moved yet, that'll be actionable from this video. Typically there usually are some from these videos. So you just have to pay attention and see if these make sense to you. But over the last 7 days, here's some whales accumulating. Like here we go, 0.07% supply owned on September 4th. Now we're up to 0.11% supply owned. And I know that doesn't seem like much because we're under 1%, but this is significant. Here we were at the bottoms. They started accumulating because they felt like it was a bottom, and it's just slowly ticking up and up. And sure, smart money and public figures have been selling some, but you can also see here, this is clearly things are coming off of the exchange because the exchange is in a negative. That means token supply is coming off of the exchanges. And top 100 is accumulating a little bit as well. But you're starting to see that whales are starting to establish their position after WLFI dipped. And I'm actually going to go back here and look at the chart and just see. Okay, here we go. This is the daily. Let's look at the daily. All right. Yeah, so this is basically an inverted head and shoulders, which I love these moves. Yeah, see it right there. Very clear. There's your shoulder on the left. Head, sorry. And here's your shoulder on the right. So this is basically just a bull flag, in my opinion, that's waiting for the next bottom before it breaks out. You could watch this upper trend line here, and once it breaks above that upper trend line, that would be a buy signal. Or you could just start slowly accumulating here. Now, I'm not saying it's definitely going to stop at this line. There are instances where it has come back down to retest this first breakout. So it could even dip down to like 19 cents before it's ready to go again. But currently you're at 20, so it's not that big of a deal. The thing you don't want to see, of course, is it to dip below like 18 cents. That would be a bad sign. So there's not much risk there. The risk to reward is much greater, or the reward side is much greater. Let's see. I'm just trying to see what we've got going on in the last 7 days. It is a new token, I believe, isn't it? I'm guessing it launched on September 1st. So there's only 7 days of data here to go by. But if you got top 100 wallets purchasing, this is a 13 million net worth wallet with an 81% win rate. That's a pretty good sign as well. I like the chart setup. I like that whales are accumulating. We were talking about finding tokens that haven't really moved much. Well, here's your buy signal. Price is coming down. The whales started increasing their position right there. So there was a buy signal. Here was another buy signal right here. It crossed up. So, right there, you're possibly buying more. You're just kind of accumulating with the whales, or maybe that was your first buy. Either way. So I think smart money and public figures are probably late on this move. I think they got scared out by the FUD, which I did. If you look back here, again, very easy to search on X here. You just type from : whoever you're trying to search something on. In this case, we're looking at WLFI. And I was talking about here on the last video, I believe it was, I said, isn't it strange that the Justin Sun WLFI blacklisted FUD ended up being the bottom? And you can see this is where, on this date, the 5th of September, this is where Justin Sun had some FUD issues with the Trump-linked WLFI, unreasonably frozen tokens. Anytime price is coming down and you start getting bearish news like this, you should be wondering why that's happening and start looking into things. And it ended up being that we got a buy signal shortly after that on the engineering robo trading view indicator, which you can do the 7-day free trial below in the description if you want to try that out. But that was your buy signal right there, actually. Of course, this is hindsight, but we're still pretty early on this move. I think this is an inverted head and shoulders. And I was saying this has nothing to do with Sun or Trump, had everything to do with causing retail fear. But you definitely want to see it hold that 18 cents area. All right, let's go back to our chart. And we're going to move on to the next token. So Ondo, this is a really interesting one because I like the setup here as well. It's been down into some support areas. It's been building higher lows. It's just waiting for this breakout. And you could call this, a longer term inverted head and shoulders as well. You do have another top 100 wallet here that's accumulating. They haven't sold any. There's a second top 100 wallet. What else do we have here? Whales have been selling at a higher clip lately. but fresh wallets have been buying at a much higher clip than whales are selling. So that's a good sign. You got new participants entering this token. And I think that was all driven over the last 24 hours on the news that Ondo had some kind of, here, let me just look at it here. Well, we can look at their X account, can't we? It's going to be reposted there anyway. Okay, we're excited to share that Ondo Finance has appointed Peter Curley. Okay, we're not really worried about that. Anyway, there was some type of, looks like they've got a lot of news going on, but there's some type of news that was positive for Ondo. Yeah, there's some kind of partnership there. Oh, this must have been it. The global asset manager with 131 billion in, what does this mean again? Annual, no, assets under management. Sorry, my brain wasn't working on that. So AUM means assets under management. So yeah, this is a big partnership there, and that means they have more money to work with. I believe that's what it means anyway. So yeah, just getting back to the Ondo information here. If you like high caps, and I think is Ondo a high cap? I'm not sure if Ondo's a high cap or not. Let me just check real quick. Token. Where's the market cap? 419. It's more of a mid cap, maybe. Okay. Anyway, that's even better. You know, you want to find things that are lower market cap. So here's a buy signal. You know, we got our top 100. It's eclipsed where the price action is currently. It was flat for a while, and they started accumulating again. Oh, that's 24 hours. Let me look over 7 days. Might have some smart money activity. No, not really. Yeah, I mean, this is huge, right? The top 100 wallets, new fresh wallets started stepping in there. So now they're a part of the top 100 if they bought a lot. Smart money's pretty much flat, but you got a lot of holders here. I mean, look at the huge numbers in value that like Pantera Capital, Republic Capital, you got a lot of funds involved here. So institutional activity, that's what you want to see, right? You've got some increase here from public figures. Looks like, I don't know, you're going to get much information out of somebody named Fred, but you know, you should be able to find, actually, you know, if you click through here, which I just opened it up on a different tab, but if you click through here, I think it does actually. Yeah, there you go, right there. So Nansen has set it up to where you actually know who these people are, these public figures. You can click on their Twitter right here and go to their Twitter. So it's very accessible, makes it nice. I mean, Nansen has made so many nice improvements and useful improvements lately. Very impressed with their dev team. So you got price moving up, public figure, Fred here sees it as a good value, even though price is moving up, which hasn't really moved much at all. You know, just 0.94 to what, $1-ish. So not much movement yet. There's still time to enter this one if you want in it. Whales have been selling a little bit, but mostly flat. I mean, I'm really surprised they didn't start accumulating here at the bottom. Some of them probably wish they did, but you know, a lot of them have a huge position regardless. So once this thing does see a top, you want to be careful because there's a lot of wallets here that hold huge values, and there's going to be, you know, a long drawn out distribution, and distribution just means that, you know, there's more and more sell pressure that continues to send price down. But I think this one has a lot of upside still. So definitely Ondo is one to look at as one of the, I mean, there's never a safe play in crypto, but it's one of those tokens that, since it's a little bit higher cap, kind of like Doge or whatever, you feel somewhat safer, but your return may not be as great as, you know, a really low cap or something like that that has to catch up a lot. But you may be looking like a 5x or something with Ondo, hopefully more. Here was a really big pump for WorldCoin. Remember, there's a lot of things you can do here with Nansen, and number one would be, you're looking here at the chart, you're saying, okay, well, who bought that before the big pump? Well, I can click Candle Inspector, and I can click, you know, any of these smaller green candles when the volume first started to uptick. So I'll click when this first big volume candle came in, I'm going to click that one. And now down here below, it's populating the wallets that bought just that single candle and who was accumulating the most. So here you go, top 100 on the wild leaderboard. Oh, sorry, the WorldCoin leaderboard, WLD. Here's a top 100 1-inch wallet, Pendle wallet, Mantra wallet, huge amounts they're buying right here. So if you wanted to, you could click into one of these wallets and save them, hit manage labels, add wallet to watch list, label it whatever you want, or name it whatever you want, and then save it. Oh, sorry. Sometimes it does this. Let me refresh it. Okay. And it's got plenty of things here that'll give you tips and resources like simplify your workflow, why use labels, use custom labels, master emojis, learn their meanings. A lot of very useful information here so that you don't have to go looking and figuring out what something means. But here you go. They do hold 2.66 million value of this token. Okay, so if we go into holders, just like we've been doing on everything else, I'm trying to go through this as fast as I can. I really don't want to make these an hour long. We're at 45 minutes right now, but I'm trying to give you as much value as I can because I only do one of these per week. I want to help you continue to learn how to use this. So last 30 days, here was your buy signal way back here on, what was this, August 16th. You saw that the accumulation was exceeding the price. So, the whales were buying and it went above, the amount, this line went above where the price structure was, where price was still falling. And then later on, price started pumping out of nowhere. So whales are always early, usually. I don't want to say always, but they're usually early. Smart money is usually early. Public figures are as well. And here you go on whales currently. Here was another buy signal. I mean, this was technically a sell signal back here, but I think they sold too early, whoever that was. But here was another buy signal, and you're still really not seeing any distribution. There's not much selling here right now. So whales think that price can go higher here on this one as well. I wonder if smart money's been selling much. Yeah, here was your sell signal for smart money, which would have been perfect. Really, this wasn't much selling at all either. So smart money is still holding a lot as well of this one. Okay, and Cake, I wanted to show you this where, Cake had a pretty big move. It doesn't look like much here, but all of a sudden it just pumped out of nowhere. This actually happened today, just hours ago. And we can just see what the holders are doing, see if we can get some current information on if we could have found anything that might have helped us out with this one. Not really seeing anything. I may have to look at the 7-day chart. Well, there you go. So around 9 p.m. Well, no, sorry. Around my time anyway, I guess it's 7 a.m. Whales did start to accumulate this, and they're still holding on to it. So this could be a good opportunity if you want if you want Cake. One to look into anyway. So let me jump back here and just very quickly, because again, I don't want to make this much longer. I'm going to show you some tokens that could be good to look into for both retail accumulation and smart money, but I'm going to have to go quicker on these. And if we need to circle back, maybe I can do another video this week. I don't know. I've got a lot of things going on, but I'm going to show you a few here that look good as far as retail accumulation. You usually want to find something that hasn't moved, that's not at the top of the list here. Like, obviously SCI, SMT, and Maxi are probably doing really well right now, and TAO, or, as far as accumulation, they're doing well. I am going to look at TAO. Here, hang on one second. I'm curious on TAO's holder distribution, and then we'll get into it. Takes it a second to load. Sometimes there's a lot of data it has to load up here. Maybe while it's doing that, I'll come back to TAO. So here's some just quickly looking at small caps. Titan might be one you want to look at. Doge, of course, is... Well, wait, why is this? Yeah, maybe Doge is one to look at too. Am I looking at ETH? Yeah, that's ETH chain. Okay. I think I'm going to pull up... Well, we'll just look at ETH chain. Let's just do it on ETH chain just to make it simple. Because I think ETH chain is the one that has the most room to catch up. So you got GME, Titan X. I've played Titan X before for a profit. I know it can move. TAO is definitely one to look at. Doge. There's probably other good ones here. I'm not saying any of these can't do well. I'm just looking at something that hasn't really moved much. It's maybe around 50K net DEX flows over the last 7 days. It still hasn't really made its move. Rio's a good one. Toke is one we just mentioned today, I believe. So those are small caps, and here's mid caps. So remember, small and mid caps, there's more risk involved, but they can move pretty hard as well. I'm just trying to see the ones that are moving up the list here. We could look at 24-hour, but 7 hours is going to give you more information. There's Floki, virtual. A lot of people are interested in that one, obviously. Let's look at, this is all retail DEX flows, by the way. You're seeing what retail is getting into. I'm going to show you smart money here in just a second. There's ENS, Nero, MOG. I know that's a big one as well. So let's take a look at smart money here, and then we'll look at, well, there hasn't been much smart money flows at all, huh, on mid caps. What about small caps? Some. Yeah, Block had a huge dip, and I think there's more accumulation happening, so definitely one to consider. I mentioned that on X. If you want kind of like a value play that's near a bottom, hopefully. There's Hyper. What about, I bet it's mostly large caps that have the most net flow. Well, not even them, really. BGB, we talked about it early. SPX, there you go. Link, we talked about early. But these are still ones that have flows coming in. It's just that they don't have positive net flow currently. We're looking at just smart money here. But if we look at all caps as a whole, now we're going to see a lot more green here. What else do we see? Anything? There's Beam, just talked about it. So let's add in Solana and Base, BNB, and Arbitrum, and just see what we have. Yeah, so it's filling things out a little bit more here. Here's GRIFFAIN. That's a Sol token we just talked about. AVNT. I wanted to start with ETH first, though. Mirror, REI, we talked about. There's Beam again. What else do we have here? I'm looking for things that are around 50K net flow again. These ones really haven't moved much. NMT has actually had some things going on lately. I want to see if there's any accumulation about smart money. I mean, about whales on that one. So we'll look at that one along with TAO really quick. I can't look at all these because we're out of time pretty much. Spark looks like another one, could be a good one. I'm curious about, I mean, we know large caps have been moving, but small caps are really my interest, or medium. Yeah, see, there are definitely smart caps that are being, small caps that are being accumulated here. And NMT was one of them we just talked about. Giza, Polyfax, there's another good one. Okay, well, I just wanted to kind of give you some ideas there. Let's look at TAO. Make sure this one's loading. Okay. All right, what do we want to look at? Holders, last 7 days. Whales a little bit. Yeah, they accumulated there. So they're holding steady. Well, no, there's not any. Where's our values here? Okay, yeah, there you go. You got a lot of token millionaire stuff. They're holding like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of TAO. So this looks pretty good for accumulation still on TAO. I would say, if you like this one, this is still an okay place to be accumulating. You're not seeing much distribution from smart money. The cool thing about that Nansen research agent right here is that you could go into it here and say, what do we want to type? It's going to take it a second to load this up, so I'm going to be doing something else while it's loading, while it's kind of thinking and going through all its motions to find this information for us. Can you look at TAO and determine if sell pressure is complete and accumulation has begun? Okay, so it's starting. It'll pop up here in a second when it's done. So let's jump over to, you can see it's already, I'm going to get some notifications here that it's doing some things. Okay, last 7 days, this is Netmind token. There is some downward pressure here. Oops, sorry, I forgot I had the zoom on. But we do have smart money that started accumulating here on September 4th, and they're still holding on. They have 205K value that they're holding currently. Signum Capital, they're a good fund. They're a high balance wallet as well. They have multiple wallets usually. So even when price came down, they weren't worried about it because they're holding for the long term, right? Let me just see over the last 30 days. Yeah, no distribution here by smart money. They're just holding on. Last 24 hours, not really much activity. What does the chart look like again? I know it had some kind of big move. Yeah, there it is right there. So it had its first higher high, you know, based on this high back here. So it's probably establishing its support now. So you're going to see more and more people accumulate this one, I believe. All right, let's see. This thing's still thinking. So I'll give it maybe another minute or so. I don't really think there's anything else I was going to talk about there. I'm just waiting for this thing to complete its research for me. I mean, that's what AI is about, right? It's just freeing us up to do other things. We shouldn't lose our creativity, though. We should always keep, you know, trying to figure things out on our own. You know, even though these things are helping us out, AI is helping us out. We should never lose that creative spark that we have and just let AI do everything for us, you know. So here it is. It started to give us some information there. It's finally done there. And we're going to end with this. We're going to close with this. So basically it's saying there's strong accumulation signals. The most critical signal is that there's a 7-day exchange outflow, which is strong bullish, major net withdrawals, continued withdrawal pattern here on exchange. Interpretation, large holders are moving TAO off exchanges, indicating accumulation intent rather than selling preparation. Profitable trader behavior, consistently positive. Renewed interest from the top P&L wallets. Fresh capital inflows, we saw that, right? Where fresh wallets are buying, we want to see that for sure. Mixed but improving signals. Risk assessment, some continued profit taking from early holders visible, but not aggressive. Verdict, investment thesis is accumulation phase initiated, and it gives you some more information there. So I think for the TAO holders, that's going to be very positive. They're going to appreciate that I was able to go through that for them. But I want to continue to show you these things, how powerful these tools are. Again, there's discounts below if you want to use any of these tools that I show, especially, you know, Nansen is the one I showed today. So take advantage of that. At least look at the free side of it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like, hit subscribe, share it with your friends. Comment below if there's something else you want me to show, if there's something specific. And we'll try to get into that on the next video. All right, well, y'all have a good one, and we'll see you on the next one.